What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're not doing any team building, we're not doing any tournament analysis, we're not even battling. What we are doing though is we're looking at Landorus Incarnate just as a whole, because I wanted to really spotlight this Pokemon in particular because it is absolutely destroying the regulationF meta, by a large means. And originally when this Pokemon came out in Scarlet and Violet, when we got access to it again, nobody was using it. Nobody in Regulation D. Only towards the end of Regulation E did people finally start to pick up on its usage. But overall, right now it is absolutely dominating. I think I put this, within the A tier without a doubt. If I had my tier list going, maybe even almost borderline S- tier. All right, S- if there is such a tier. And let's talk about why. Like, again, it went from like no usage to like one of the most popular used Pokemon, on certain competitive teams. And let's see why. Look at its stats. Okay, it's got like a better attack stat, right? But we're not even using that. We're using a special attacking stat. And then this speed of 101 is so huge and so important, because when you full speed max this, okay, this allows you to outspeed stuff like Chiyu and stuff like Entei. And that's important because those are two base 100 Pokemon, and the fact that you can outspeed them by 1 point is huge, because then you can get off a big earth power and pretty much one-shot them. Okay, then you add the fact that you have Sludge Bomb here with Terra Poison. Okay, so what does that do? Basically, think about it. If you are afraid of taking the ground move, what do? You go for something like a Terra Grass, right, to be able to resist that. All right, typical fire Pokemon, terrestrialization, right? Now, in that sense, if you go Terra Grass, guess what happens? Now you're weak to Sludge Bomb, okay? And now you just get one shot by that, okay? And then, in general, Sludge Bomb is just a very, very good move against just regular grass type Pokemon. So think like Rillaboom, all the Ogerpons, if they don't Terra, they're all susceptible to this Sludge Bomb, which is, a big thing in that sense. And if you're Terra Poison Sludge Bomb with Sheer Force and Life Orb, that is a ton of damage. Even if it's a neutral hit, okay, things will still melt to Sludge Bomb. Okay, then you add something like Substitute. So this is really useful in terms of like, stalling out Trick Room turns, stalling out Tailwind turns, maybe even baiting out a potential Sucker Punch, right? And then you can just click sub off of that. And in that sense, you get to preserve Landorus and extend its longevity, and then, just keep clicking Earth Powers until the cows come home, right? This is one kind of set that is most common, right? Then if we take a look at another set, okay, this is Sandsear Storm with the other two moves. Now, this set in particular, right, with this extra third move coverage, this is mainly used on those rain teams, right? So if you just imagine teams like Tornadus with Rain Dance, or if you imagine stuff like Pelipper, again, the Sandsear Storm all of a sudden becomes 100% accurate, and Encampment, just does a ton of damage. It's basically special variant of Precipice Blades, if you really think about it, right? So that's one set that people use in particular. Like, you just see like Tornadus, Urshifu, all right? And then maybe Incineroar comes in there, and then you just slap on a Landorus, and now all of a sudden you got a really, really strong and dominant special attacker, right? Then you have this set. This is the lesser of the three, but it is still used, depending on the player, and that is Psychic. Now, what happens here is a lot of Pokemon, they are, Terra Poison, right? They may go for Terra Poison is what I'm saying. So stuff like Amoonguss, for example, is susceptible to Psychic just being like a natural poison type. Now, why would things go for Terra Poison? That's just for like, imagine, fairy resistance. They want to be able to avoid that, or fighting resist just in general. And then just poison is actually just a very, very good typing altogether, because there's not a lot of Psychic going around right now, although there is a little bit more now because of the Iron Crown usage rising. But Psychic was used for that reason, especially like Levitate Pokemon. Like, Levitate Pokemon love Terra Poison because you can't click a ground move against them, right? Even though, Poison is weak to ground because you have Levitate. So what do? As a workaround, you go Terra Poison. So something like Latias has been running around with Terra Poison, for example, right? Then you just click Psychic, and now all of a sudden the Latias is almost down for the count, depending on its bulk, okay, or if it's EV spread. And then you might even just consider Terra Psychic, but I don't think that's necessary. I still think Terra Poison is still really, really good. But now, again, you just have something that's super effective against these Terra Poison options, right? With Fluttermane being so common, Poison is a very common defensive typing, and then you can kind of bait that out and then just start going for psychics, right? So that's the benefit of Landorus, right? You have very, very good coverage in terms of having ground, poison, and a filler. Okay, and then from there, you just hit a ton of the meta, okay? And we'll look at some of the popular Pokemon that Landorus hits hard, right? And you'll see why this Pokemon is being used a lot on different teams. And we'll actually show you those teams where Landorus can really, really do well. And if you haven't been using Landorus, now's the time to start using it, because it's just topping tournaments everywhere. It's winning tournaments, okay? And from there, I expect it to do relatively well in the early goings of the regionals in regulationF. All right, so let's take a look at some of the Pokemon that Landorus just does so well with right now in regulationF. Okay, if we just take a look at some of the newer Pokemon for a second, like Raging Bolt, Iron Crown, and Archaludon, all these things, not only do they get outsped by Landorus Incarnate, they are all susceptible to a super effective damage ground move, right? So Raging Bolt, Electric Dragon, again, Earth Power can pretty much one-shot this thing. You can't even click your electric move on Landorus, right? Because of your ground typing. So that's already like a great matchup into Raging Bolt. Iron Crown, now again, it's forced the Terra into its Terra Water, right? And this is the most common Terra of Iron Crown right now. You're basically baiting it, right? And then in that case, when you do bait out that Terra Water, now you can use that against it, depending on what else you have on your team. But the fact that you have to waste your Terra to not take this Earth Power is important, right? That's part of, again, strategic VGC, forcing out Terras that maybe your opponent doesn't want to click, but has to click if it wants to live that turn. But then you're just making it weak to what you have in the back, right? So that's also a very, very good tactic. Same thing over here with the Archaludon. Again, another steel type that is susceptible to the Earth Power, right? And again, I know these things carry Assault Vest sometimes, but this Assault Vest is not going to save it, okay? It will wreck it. Okay, so and then of course the body press stuff is not going to work. You can't really click Electro Shot, right, which is the main selling point of Archaludon in the rain, so that's not working either. So Landorus looking really good against these three options. Then you have Incineroar. Incineroar can't do anything, right? You can't intimidate it. You're a special attacker. Okay, you are again forced to click a Terra that you have to use if you want to survive it. This is why some instants they go with Terra Grass, right? To avoid that, then you click Sludge Bomb, and then they're in trouble. If they do have something like Terra Fairy for the fighting resist, now you're weak to Sludge Bomb yet again. And if you want to click Terra Poison for, again, the same reason to avoid a fighting move, again, you just click Earth Power. So, Incineroar is having some trouble against Landorus Incarnate, okay? As long as you outspeed it, you're going to do fine. Rillaboom, same idea. Sludge Bomb, even with this Assault Vest, is just doing way too much damage, especially if they're modest nature, right? If they're modest natured Landorus, Rillaboom can kiss its HP goodbye. And then, of course, all reliable Iron Hands, which has dropped a little bit in usage in regulationF, but it is still up there amongst the top. But again, another electric Pokemon like Raging Bolt that does not want to be taking Earth Powers. And most commonly, it was going with Terra Fire or even like Terra Grass, again, just to avoid Amoonguss stuff and Trick Room, or in that sense, again, the ground coverage. But you always have Sludge Bomb waiting if you do have Terra Grass, which is why I think the best option is, Terra Water these days. So at least this way you're taking neutral hits from that Earth Power, even though it's still doing a ton of damage. So again, Landorus looking really good against these options, and for good reason, right? All these fire types too, right? Entei, the new one, okay? Again, forced to either go for Terra Grass or even like Terra Normal, just to be able to try and live that Earth Power. This is also why they have the Assault Vest. They can live it if they do have it. So I think that's one benefit of having, the terrestrialization available, because Entei can KO, Landorus right back if it has Chien-Pao on the field especially. So that's something to at least look in terms of the positive things. But again, being able to force the Terra, because again, you get outsped. Entei's base speed is only 100, okay? Which means 101 outspeeds it, because 101 is more than 100. Math, Pokemath right there. So you have that to consider. Heat Trance, same thing. A lot of them are Assault Vests at this point right now, just, especially on those walking wake teams. That's not going to help you. They do have to go Terra Grass, but then by doing that, again, you know, susceptible to the Sludge Bomb. Same thing with Flutter Mane and Chiyu over here. You know, actually Chiyu is just making it do more damage, right? You know, thanks Chiyu for, you know, being slower and allowing Landorus to do more damage, you know, if they're both on the field at the same time. Flutter Mane's not living that, especially that Sludge Bomb against this Terra Fairy stuff. So, you know, again, just be aware of that. And this is why some Flutter Manes are, you know, if they want to go like super bulky, you know, and they want to, you know, be a little bit slower, they still have to outspeed the Landorus. So, you know, they have to go with something like 170, 171, just for that reason altogether, you know, if they want to be like super slow. So that's one reason there. And then of course the Ogre Pawns, like we mentioned, again, Sludge Bomb, this is the only one that has like a good shot. It has to Terra, you know, because of this grass weakness, you know, to Sludge Bomb, it has to Terra. Same thing with this one. Earth Power wrecks this. So, you know, all the more reason that, you know, they have to force, like, you wouldn't even want to Terra this, right? Because again, you just die to Earth Power. So this one has a shot because it has at least a special defense boost when it goes with Terra Water. So that's the one way that you can at least combat the Landorus. But again, force to Terra, you know, as a result of the pressure exerted from the Landorus Incarnate, right? Even the King Gambit's now in Regulation F. Before, you used to see like a lot more black glasses with Swords Dance and Protect, and you still see that set, but now you also see a lot more Assault Vest King Gambit, because, you know, there are a little bit more special attackers running around right now in the format, and, you know, again, Landorus Incarnate being one of them. To be able to even live the timid 252 Earth Power, you need this investment with the Assault Vest right here. This is what lets you live. 99% is the max damage, you know, again, no crit. So with 204 EVs left, you know, you're forced to basically do this, right? You hit the third bump here in the attack stat, and then you just dump the rest into defense and speed. So this is your like minimum investment, 252 HP, 52 speed def with the Assault Vest that you need to be able to live that, right? Goldengo, again, same thing. Metagross, even Registeel is at the mercy of, you know, Landorus Incarnate. Look how common these Pokemon are. This one a little bit less common. Of course, it's very niche on some of those Latias teams, but again, it is still a pretty good Steel type. So again, we just listed a lot of the top 20, top 30 Pokemon, you know, running around that just drop to Landorus Incarnate or are forced to Terra if they want to be able to survive, right? But again, that's how much respect that Landorus Eye commands. You know, you have to Terra if you want to be able to live, otherwise you just get swept. All right, so now what are some of the most common teams right now that Landorus Incarnate is on? What is something that you can expect to see almost all the time? So I put together 5 of these teams, you know, so this way you get an idea of what you could use personally or what you should expect to see, whether it's ladder play, online tournament play, or even a regional play. So here's the standard one, the Cookie Cutter Tornadus Rain Dance team, you know, with none of the new Paradox Mons, but instead you have Urshifu and Landorus. This is what I'm talking about here. So because you have Rain Dance on your Tornadus, right? That's going to let Urshifu do a ton more damage, especially with Mystic Water or Choice Scarf. It doesn't really matter. Either way, you're doing more damage in the rain. But now that allows the Landorus to be able to have 100% accurate Sandsear Storm, which is, again, very detrimental, especially if you have the speed on your side after Tailwind. You know, this thing is just clicking that and everything is just melting. So just be aware of that. This is where, like, some of those Sunny Day teams with Whimsicott or the other Tornadus are really going to help and come in handy. But either way, like, again, even without, it's still 80% accurate, so there's the benefit there. And then, of course, the Fire, Water, Grass core, you know, with Urshifu, Instant, and Rillaboom. And for good measure, just slap on a Flutter Mane in there. Might as well, right? So this is one of those standard teams that you can use with Landorus Incarnate. And then now, if you want to use something like Raging Bolt on that kind of team, you can. So here's another expected squad. Sometimes even over the Amoonguss, you'll see something like a Rillaboom over here. But either way, Calm Mind Raging Bolt with either Booster Energy or even something like Leftovers here, that's going to be very detrimental. And again, you know, with this Landorus set, you'll probably see Substitute as opposed to something like Sandsear Storm, just because, you know, it just gives you a little bit more of a better matchup into Trick Room. But here's another idea that you can definitely utilize. More or less the same kind of cores as the previous team, just, again, utilizing no Tornadus here, but instead Substitute along with Redirection support from the Amoonguss, along with Raging Bolt, to be able to just set up these Calm Minds and keep clicking priority Thunderclaps. That's really one way to approach it. Okay, and then if you want to play it in rain, right, on different rain team with Pelipper and Archaludon, you can definitely do that as well. I've seen teams like this. So here we go, Instant, Urshifu, and Amoonguss. Here's your Fire, Water, Grass core. And then again, Landorus with either Substitute, but more also commonly Sandsear Storm, You can definitely see it on Pelipper teams like this, especially because, you know, they're bringing out the rain naturally as opposed to manual rain from like a prankster Pokemon. But I think this is another core team that you can utilize that can definitely make good use of Landorus, especially, you know, in the rain along with Tailwind. I think that's one way to approach it. And then you can position, of course, with Incineroar and Amoonguss. So this way Landorus can, you know, be in a good board state to be able to click these Sandsphere Storms. And then Arcaludon, of course, definitely joins the rain because, again, you're clicking Electro Shots, you're powering this up. So, you know, they have to respect this as well. So, you know, that's the benefit there of being on the Pelipper team. Then one of my favorites, actually probably my favorite, is something here with Iron Crown, where again you have Indeedee, Iron Crown, and Tornadus. So this is like aggressive side spam, you know, Tailwind offense side spam, which is something that we made, you know, in a previous team building video. But now you add Chi-Yu here, and now not only is the Iron Crown doing more damage, but so is the Landorus, right? So again, another one with Rain Dance, which is making the Urshifu do more damage, but also the Landorus gets to do more damage. And the reason why Landorus is also really good on these teams is, again, Incineroar could be a problem, but more importantly, the Water Ogerpon is also a big thing because it's hard to break through a little bit just because, you know, the special defense boost that it gets can, you know, kind of take a little bit more effort from the Iron Crown and or Chi-Yu. But this is also why Landorus is also coming on teams like this, just to be able to put a ton of pressure into that Water Ogerpon, forcing it to Terra Water. Okay, Urshifu can't really do much there, but Landorus can, especially, you know, if it has, you know, again, the chip enough where like Earth Power can just pick up that KO. So that's another way to really utilize this. And again, you know, with Psychic Terrain and Tailwind going, you know, it's going to be like a really, really good option there. And it has been. If you look at the Tommy Tour, this was actually used quite a bit, Chi-Yu with Landorus. So, you know, it just makes a lot of sense altogether. And then down here, this is more or less the balanced way of thinking of it. This one was also used on those Latias teams, right? With Latias, Fluttermane, and King Gambit with your Dragon, Fairy, Steel Core. But now, you know, after Latias clicks Tailwind, now once again, Landorus is in command with the speed on his side and clicking Earth Powers and Sludge Bombs. So you can definitely utilize this core. And again, Incin, Ogerpon, there's your Dragon, there's your Fire, Water, Grass core. And Landorus just adds another dimension. This is going to help into, like, you know, those Raging Bolt matchups, those Arcaludon matchups. It really helps a lot just to have like a really, really strong ground type attack that is not susceptible to Intimidate. So, you know, definitely, you know, just be on the lookout of this, right? If you haven't seen it already, which I'm sure many of you have, definitely be aware of it because Landorus Incarnate is just really, really good on these Latias teams. So there you have it, right? 5 very common teams that you can definitely see Landorus Incarnate on. And again, like I said, I really wanted to spotlight it today just because I think it's so strong in the meta right now, and it really needs to be respected in terms of team building, especially if you're going to like a regional coming up, you know, with Portland and Charlotte and Knoxville, whatever it is regional you're coming to. Landorus Incarnate will be a threat. It could win the next regional. Mark my words, it could win. Okay, it's already won plenty of online regulationF tournaments already. So let's see what happens in regional play. All right, so that's gonna do it for now, folks. If you want to do a little bit of team building with Landorus Incarnate, or if you got an idea that you're just having a little bit of trouble fleshing out, again, that's what we're here for on this channel. We're here to help you out. So make sure you sign up with that tier 3 sub to the channel. It's a team building perk. And if you do, you're able to schedule a one-on-one Discord call with me. You get to pitch your idea to me, or at least ask me how you would build around a certain Pokemon or a certain archetype. And then from there, we get to get you that squad that you need to be able to compete, whether it be in these tournaments, these regionals, or, you know, just maybe a team for online ranked ladder play. We've been booking a lot of sessions for those reasons, you know, throughout this week and even next week. So book your slot while you can. If you look in the video description below, there is a link that you can click to join the channel with that tier 3 sub, or even tier 4 if you want me to look at your gameplay and help you become a better battler as opposed to team builder. That's also an option too. And if you can't see it there, you know, you can also check the pinned comment section where we have the same exact link that you can click to join the channel with that tier 3 sub. And once again there, then you can join the Discord, then you can message me, and then we go from there. All right, let me know what you think of Landorus Incarnate, and if you've used it already, let me know what you've been using it with. But that's gonna do it for now, folks. We'll be back in another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.